think they try to throw a lot at you on the back end. Normal downs, they play a bunch of different coverages. You'll see some two-man, you'll see some two, you'll see one blitz, cover three, quarters. Like they're kind of like they do everything, right? What we got to focus on is just working our technique, make sure we're getting to the line, getting a pre-snap plan, and just being able to go operate after that. The good thing about, practicing the way we practice, our defense throws a lot at us too. So we're kind of used to that type of volume, seeing different looks and being able to ID it on the fly. It's just about going to go battle every snap, operating with technique, and going to win one-on-one matchups.
Patrick, then Adam.
Coach, kind of following up on that. Is it a bigger challenge mentally for your guys or physically with the way Georgia plays? You listed off all the coverages they play. Obviously, they'll challenge you guys physically too. What's the bigger challenge, I guess, for you guys?
I think the challenge is always in practice. We do a really good job of putting pressure on our guys in practice. We do a really good job of making our guys uncomfortable in practice. That way, game day, it feels like, it's easier. So I think with, the DBs that we go against in practice, the way we challenge these guys in practice with the tempo, with the urgency, the focus, I think all of that stuff has to get you prepared for game day, and you have to put stress on these guys. And I think ultimately when you do that, game day feels like a breeze. So that's been our motto, and we're going to continue to go with it.
Is it different for guys that haven't played against Georgia or played much against Georgia? I don't think Mike played that much last year. Braylon didn't. Do you think the challenge is greater if you haven't faced a Georgia secondary before?
We faced good secondaries. This team's a really good team, but we faced good secondaries before. I think, part of playing a good opponent is you got to understand your opponent, but you can't give them too much credit either. If we go out and we do us, if we go out and compete, if we go out and we execute the way we're supposed to execute, we'll get the results we want.
Coach, just specifically with Mike and Braylon, what have they showed you? And do you kind of feel like they have a little bit of chip on their shoulder because people do kind of doubt them a little bit in situations like this because they are young?
Yeah, I think they all got chips on their shoulders. I think they all, keep receipts. They've heard some of the stuff, like we all have. But that's the good thing about being an athlete is you can channel that stuff the right way. In the end, you can have the world in your hands, and you can have the last say so. And I think those guys are very in tune with that, and they're channeling it the right way, which is in practice with the way they work and the way they prepare in the building. And we just got to keep doing that to build consistency. That's what we're looking forward to now is we don't want to be one-hit wonders. We don't want to have, a few good games. We got to build consistency in order to be a real elite offense.
Chris Brazel's had a couple of really productive performances, especially after ETSU. What do you think has led to his production this season, and how much can you rely on that on Saturday?
Yeah, I think he's grown up some. I think the room, that room has benefited each and every one of those guys. It starts with Chris, it starts with Mike, it starts with Bray, even the young guys, right? Travis, Rodarius, Joe Kim, some of those guys coming in the room, and they're setting the standard every day. And I think that creates competition, and what you see is guys can't take plays off, they can't take days off, and so naturally you just get, almost an environment of excellence that they're trying to achieve daily. Even when they don't meet it, they still, know the things that they need to get better at, they're aware of it, but as long as they're chasing, I think we put ourselves in a spot to go be successful.
Coach, back here, can you describe or shed some light on the relationship that Joey Aguilar has with your wide receiver room, whether it's practice, facility, outside the facility, or in games?
Yeah, it's awesome. Joey's, man, he's a people person. He does a really good job, even back to the summer and the spring, of spending time with those guys. Like, I can't tell you how many times we leave a receiver meeting. I tend to go over in the receiver meetings. We tend to stay longer. And, the guys are like, Coach, we got to go, we got a dinner with Joey, which is kind of cool to see, but he's poured into those guys, and he is very emotionally adapt to who they are. Like, he understands how to get on to each guy, which sometimes is in different ways, but he's very emotionally intelligent when it comes to talking to those guys and pouring into them, which at the quarterback position you have to have, because you got a lot of personality for the most part at wideouts. You got to know how to deal with those guys and which buttons to push in order to get the most out of them. Hats off to him. He's done a great job of not only investing but studying and learning those guys to be able to get the most out of them. And they want to go play hard for him, which you've seen on Saturday.
Coach, you kind of touched on your freshman trio. You got an extended look at them in the game last week. What did you see from each of Rodarius, Travis, and Joakim, and how much more trust did they maybe earn to get more playing time
Absolutely.
down the line?
You saw a different array from a couple of those guys. Like Rodarius, you seen him go make a couple big grabs, huge grabs. Travis played hard in the run game. He didn't get as many looks or as many touches, but I thought he graded out well. Joakim's still coming along as well. With him getting here in summer, he's done a good job of adapting and kind of carrying that week to week. He's done a good job of coming on in such a short amount of time also.
Chris Brazel mentioned after the game just the comfortability he has in year 2 here. Just how have you seen that kind of play out in game 1 and game 2 for him?
Yeah, I think year 2 is always easier. I think in any round. Chris obviously didn't go in, fall camp because he was being held out, dealing with injury. But what he's done since he's been back is just he's operated with urgencies. He's been in the building, and he's given himself a shot. With that kid, a lot of times when he just prepares, and on Saturday, when he's able to just play and not have to think, I think you get the best version of him. So we'll continue that model. We'll continue that routine. For him is just continuing to prepare, keeping his routine the same. And I think he'll be able to play loose and continue to make plays. Yeah, I think, early in the season is twofold, right? You enjoy seeing the success, but too much of that enjoyment, right, can stunt your growth. On the other end, I think the kids need to see success because it creates a buy-in that helps you, create consistency down the road. So obviously we enjoy seeing it, but I enjoy seeing it because now I know for sure there's a buy-in. What we got to do, like I continue to preach, is, man, like it's got to be consistent. It's got to be day in, day out, week in, week out, and we can't get away from our routine, our habits, and our details.
From a confidence standpoint, how big was it for Mike to have that kind of day, and Chris as well? You've talked a lot about Chris having a hard time maybe putting a bad play behind him and moving forward. How much moving forward this season was Saturday for those two guys confidence-wise?
I think it's huge, man. Like playing this position is 99% confidence, right? Like it's a lot of receivers around the country that make a ton of plays, and it's because they're confident. So as a coach, you got to understand that. And we were up by a hefty amount, but for me, having those guys operate and finish that game going out on a high, I think that's crucial, especially going to a conference game. Not that you're trying to get away from, whatever the mission is, but if you got receivers playing confident, you got your quarterback playing confident, I think you got a shot to be really good on offense in any league, anywhere. And then you look at the opposite. When they aren't confident, I think that shows also. So I think being in the receivers room, man, it's all about how do I get these guys confident, how do I keep them urgent, and how do I keep those guys detailed. I think if you can check off those 3 boxes, I think you got a shot to have a good room. Thank y'all.